I am investing for financial independence, and this is my plan. I want to take you through all of the numbers, show you exactly how I'm going to do it. So I need £1,988 every single month in order to pay all of my bills, have a little bit of cash left over for spending money. That comes to £23,856 a year. However, I want to reach financial independence by the time I am 50, and that's in 10 years time. Well, 9 actually, because it's my birthday on the 14th of February, but we'll use 10 because it makes life a little bit easier. Now, £23,856 today is not, I'm afraid, the same as £23,856 in 10 years time because of that bloody bugger inflation. So historically, ignoring the last couple of years, inflation has sat somewhere between 2 and 3%. So that £23,856 now, we'll assume somewhere in the middle, 2.5% inflation, 10 years. What I'm actually going to need is £30,623. So we'll assume £31,000 to make life easy. Now, if we use the 4% rule, and the 4% rule, for those of you that don't know, states that you need a pot big enough so that you are only taking out 4% of that pot every single year. And if you do that, that pot theoretically should last forever. Now, this has been case studies that I've done over the last 100 years, and using that 4% rule is the sweet spot. It means that your pot will never disappear. A really crude example of that, if you need £10,000 a year, £10,000 is 4% of £250,000. So if your expenses are £10,000 a year, you need a pot of £250,000, and then you can take the £10,000 out and it'll be there forever. Equally, if you need £50,000 a year, then you're going to need a pot of 1.25 million, because 4% of 1.25 million is £50,000. So for me, I need 31k, as we said, to be financially free. That means I need a pot of £775,000. So let's have a look at how we're doing today. Trading 212, I've got £59,000 and 83 pence. It's a great platform, by the way. There's a link in the bio if you want to use those guys. One of my favorite investment brokers there is out there. If you do use that link and you deposit £1, as little as £1, you'll get a free share and you can start your own financial independence journey. Or perhaps you're already there, or perhaps you're halfway through, or whatever it is. Anyway, free share if you want to use it. In Hargreaves Lansdown, I've got 12,350. So this is an ISA from 2020. So I used Hargreaves Lansdown in 2020 before I realized how expensive the fees were. And since 2021, I've been using trading 212. So my total ISA amount is £71,433. Now that is some way off 775k, and I've only got 10 or 9, depending on when you're watching this, years in order to get there. So what's the big idea? Compounding. By the way, I am Irish, so I'm allowed to do that, even though my wife says I sound like a bloody farmer for some reason. So back to the calculator, assuming £71,000 pot, and I'm going to say 9% growth rate. Now, a lot of people call me up on this 9% growth rate. Where are you ever going to get that from? Well, don't forget that the S&P 500 over the last 100 years has averaged a return of 10.53%. So some might say I'm being conservative with 9%, but I daren't say that on this platform. So 9% return rate over 10 years, and I'm going to need to deposit £3,100 in order to get to that 775k thereabouts. So £3,100, that's a lot of cash. I don't have that much. Currently, I am putting in £2,000 a month, and even with that, I think that's a lot of money, and a lot of people won't be in a position where they're able to do that. So with £2,000 a month, that brings me to 560k. So I'm a couple of hundred G's off my target. So at this point, I've got two options. Number one, decrease my spending so that 550k gives me what I need. Now 4% of 550k is around £22,000 with inflation. I'm at £23,000 now. With inflation, that's not likely to be feasible unless I downsize my house or come into some cash or whatever it is, something like that. So that darned inflation has ruined our hopes and dreams again. So option number 2, increase my income, my salary, so that I get up to that £3,100. Now that £2,000 that I'm investing at the moment, that comes completely from my day job, from my salary. In reality, doing these videos, I don't make a penny from them pretty much in terms of the costs associated with doing them. So if you want to help a brother out, watch this, give it a like, share it, send it to all your mates. Maybe I'll get there a little bit sooner. But in reality, am I going to bridge that gap to 3,100? I don't know. It's not necessarily likely at the moment anyway. Now, I do have one other trick up my sleeve, and I'm going to come on to that in a minute. But before I do, I want to show you my charts. Get excited. I'm going to pull up some Excel sheets. So this is my dividend tracker. You've all seen this before, but what you might not have seen is this. So this is just how it looks like in terms of the exponential growth potential of it. These are all the dividends I've ever had, right the way back from February 2020, right the way back all the way to now. So as you can see, it's a nice curve going upwards. It's not properly taken off yet, but some big numbers in there. Proper happy with it. And then this one is my 10-year financial independence challenge based on 9% growth. So in here, starting at the left, we've got the date. So I started this back in November. Based on a 9% growth over the course of the next 10 years, because that was what I originally wanted to do. I've got then an expected value. So all the metadata is below. I've done it based on that calculator that we talked about before. All of the metadata shows all of this further down. So from November, my expected value needed to be 63k. Real value was 63k. December, I needed to be at 65. Actually starting to get ahead because this is when the markets are really starting to take off. And now we're at February. I need to be at 70k, and I'm actually at 71, about £1,000 up on where we need to be. Looking on the chart, the blue line is the route we need to take, and the orange line is the route that we're at the moment. So obviously it's not very far along so far, but this just helps me check if I'm on track in order to meet those numbers. Now, the third thing to remember is I've also got a private pension. So I was fortunate enough when I started proper work, 22 years old, something like that. I worked for a business that just auto-enrolled you. Didn't even know much about it. So it means that I've now got a pension worth about 100k. That's built up over the course of the years. And with tax benefits and employee match and all of that sort of good stuff, we have about £1,000 a month going into it as well. And if we go back to our calculator again, put 100k in. I'm going to be a bit more conservative this time because pensions typically are conservative. We'll look at 10 years because that's the time horizon that we're talking about. And we put in £1,000. Now, what I'm going to change here is increase the deposits by 3% every year. That'll be in line with salary increases, hopefully. That then will give me a pot of 340k. By the time I'm 50. Now that 340k plus the 550k, that's well above the 770k threshold that I needed. So I'm there. Not quite. Not yet. Hold off your comments. So I know that we can't start taking our pension until we're 57. So that means actually, we'll look at the numbers again. 340k, 1, 2, 3. I always have to count the zeros, don't know about you. 5% growth again, and then 7 more years, but we're not putting anything in because we're not earning anymore. We've quit our job. That 340k becomes 480. It's grown from 340 to 380 all on its own, thanks to those bloody markets again. So the plan could be then get to 50, and I've got the 550k. That means I need to live off that for 7 years, taking a drawdown on that in order that is going to be well above for 4%. But I know that by the time I'm 57, I then get another boost of nearly £500,000 coming in. And I'm there without having to increase my payments to 3,100. So you don't need to like this video in the end. You don't need to share it because I've already worked out I can do it on my own. Oh, this is assuming I quit working at 50. I actually am not in a position where I think that I will do that. What I wanted to do with this whole process is get to a point where I'm financially independent. So the choice is mine. Anything can happen. They can take my job away. Whatever happens, boiler can break, and I know that I've got a pot. That means that I no longer need to worry about money ever again. In reality, it will also be a pot that doesn't go down, so it means my kid's probably going to never have to worry about money again, all just by depositing cash regularly from my day job. Now, I did this video because I got this question here from Phil's Vids. Hopefully that answers your questions, brother. But I tried to keep this video relatively short. In reality, it could have gone on for hours. And if you've got any other questions, just let me know. Thanks for watching.